Hey there, everybody. Robert Taylor with Wonderscape Creations, continuing on with another video for the Wonderscape Worlds Toolkit. This is going to be roughly an hour to an hour and a half. I will be separating this video into a bunch of smaller videos to make it easier for people to only watch the parts that they wish to watch. This is part one, and in this video we will be going over the landscape designer generation set. So let's go ahead and get started. I do want to first point out, sorry, let me pull this out right here, that in the levels is where you can find the landscape generation. I do have set up already the 1K, 2K, 4K, the 505 meter, and 8K sizes. That way, if you are okay with one of these common sizes, you can just go ahead and get started. However, I'm showing off the whole thing, so we will be starting off with a fresh, brand new level. So I will go up here and select new level. Of course, that window showed up in there. And because I'm just generating the landscape, I'm going to go with the basic level here. Right. So let's go ahead and figure out what we will do for our landscape. Make sure it's plenty performant here. And let's go with something crazy like 20 and 20. And yes, I'm doing this intentionally. I want to show off the tool a bit. Then I'll go with 150 by 150. I actually want this to be closer to 1500. So what is 16 and 16? No. There we go. That way its resolution due to the scale of 150 and 150 is still closer. There we go. This puts it at about 3000. Now, obviously for performance, that's why I did it this way with 200, 200. Could just as easily gone 24 and 24 to get a similar number. And now that I think about it, I'm just going to go ahead and do that. There we go. Let's go ahead and first find that material. And we'll just pop that in there. Nothing fancy about it. It just helps give a visual appearance to the whole thing. And then one thing that I forgot to do, need to go out of landscape mode anyways, is in the landscape, I like having an extra real estate in the up and down direction. So I'm going to go ahead and set it to 200 for the Z scale. Now, new is the scriptable tools. Go ahead and open this up. We have a whole bunch that we got right here. I am going to go ahead and we will be going through all of these as we go. So the first step that we want to do is we're going to come in over here and we need to choose what we would like to use. Now, obviously, general is extremely important. When you choose the landscape, it will automatically choose the first one that it finds upon opening the tool. Obviously, if you have multiple, because you're doing this in a playable level, this gives you the option to do so. We then need to set the landscape resolution and the scale, and then determine this. Now, for the landscape, we're already here in landscape, and here's the overall resolution, 3025. And I'm going to make this 45,000. And using the XY size buffer is only so that it puts the landscape patch a little further outside of the bounds of the actual landscape. I just do it for my own sanity. You don't have to do it. Again, it's just a choice. And this designer bounds Z size, you will see in a very second what that is. So because I'm just generating the landscape, I'm going to go to the world designer and choose this right here. Now, as far as the foundation height map, I will go ahead and open this up. And as you can see, you can take a look at all of them to see what you would like as your foundational start. I'm going to go ahead and go with base noise 1. So if I go to height maps, basic, and I'll go with 4K because of the size. There it is. Place that in here. And then I will come in here and click anywhere. It's going to ask me this, obviously. Hit accept. And now you'll see that the landscape has disappeared. But don't worry, it actually hasn't. Before we go over that, make sure you do not click more than once. Every single time you click, it will spawn for you the world designer because I have this check marked. We'll go through these other two in future videos. Make sure you hit complete because we are done with the scriptable tool for the moment. So let's go ahead and go to the exponential height fog and lower it. And here is our starting foundation. Just in case you are wondering, this is in Africa. I went ahead and got some real world data for this. I think it's called like the Eye of the Sahara or something like that. All right, so the next thing that we now want to do is create our, generate our various differences in height. So we've got a couple of ways of doing this now. Well, a few. We can generate stamps one by one, and we have the landscape spline. I'll be going over both. So let's go ahead and we're going to start off with a landscape spline. Now, we have right here a data asset that we can use. I'm going to go ahead and just select this one just so that I can easily go to it, because I'm going to go ahead and create one. So it is of type stamp data asset. So right click and search for data asset. You can find it in miscellaneous. Select DAYT for example. For you two, obviously. Example. Then we'll open it up. Bring it out over here. The randomizer is just the seed. Don't know why I didn't just call it seed. Probably because it was a solid choice. Excuse me. So next thing we need to do is make a couple of choices. Are we going to have only one set of stamps, or are we going to have multiple? What I mean by that is we can choose how many stamps we have. I'm going to make 3 choices. For the mountains, I come over here, search for mountain 01, mountain, we'll go with 0, we'll go with 10, and then all the way down here to 22. Then the weight, obviously the stamp type is mountain, ID is mountain. We do this so that the PCG can go through the whole system and know which ones are which and which ones go where. Excuse me, sorry about that. Um, and it is solely just to make it easier for PCG to generate things properly. But they do need to match, which is why I went ahead and made it a drop down. Weight, all three of these are weighted at 1. If there was one I wanted to generate more often than the other, then I would have it at a higher number and the rest at a lower number. It will, when it goes through and does its thing, it will add together all of those numbers and then divide it by how many indexes there are. So there are 3 indexes, and then it will then have its number between 0 and 1 still. So that's how it works. So I've got 3 here. The extents, it's 10,000. We'll leave it there for now. Keep the seed where it's at. Minimum size and maximum size we'll keep there for the moment. And we will just keep this as mountains, I think. So the next thing we're going to do is come in here and change this to the YT example. And we need to make some settings here. I'm going to make this super big, 50 maybe. And then I want these to spawn much further apart. So the trace sphere size is this sphere we see right now. And then the distance between points is what we are about to see. I'm going to go ahead and start doing the thing here. That's good enough, I think. Then let go. Now you'll notice that nothing happened, and that's okay. That is because we need to go to the world designer, PCG, generate. There we go. And as you can see, beautifully so, we have a bunch of stamps that are spawning in a very random way. So I want to close that. I'm going to hit G so that everything disappears. And here's what we get to start with. All of this is randomly placed. If you don't like it, we can just hop in to, where did I put it? Right here. And we can change this seed. Now I don't remember what the randomizer's for. Let's take a look here. So I have 2 levels of randomizers. That's good to know. Because if we come over here to the seed, it's also changing things. Yeah, the randomizer is what randomizes between the indexes of the list of stamps, whereas the seed goes through the stamps within the list of stamps and randomizes those. That's right. It's been a minute. So I'm going to go back to what it was because I actually liked the stamp setup that's here. And just to show you, because you probably can't tell, I can clearly see that 2 of the stamps are exactly the same. You have this one right here. You can tell from this. We come over here. It's also right here. And I only noticed it because I was looking for it intentionally. And then as you can see right here, if we come up here, we can see the stamps, which is perfect. So next thing we are going to want to do specifically is generate a stamp here. First, I'm going to start with general. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to choose something specific. Let's see, what should I choose? We're going to go with the noise stamp. Oh, let's go with, I'll just go with this one. And as you can see, we can see it. But now I realize that it might be hard to see in the video. So let's go for something a little more prominent. Let's go for a volcano. Go all the way to 10 here. This is my favorite volcano. And as you can see now, we have it here. Now, I'm going to go over quickly about this whole thing. And all of these stamps, you're going to have the ability to choose the landscape. Again, if you have multiple landscapes, that's important. The stamp or list of stamps, and then render stamps, which we'll go over in a moment, and then alter settings, which allows you to alter the settings directly that are for the stamp. Now, render stamp, I had to place this here because if you are in an open world setting, any landscape over 2K is going to plummet the performance when you are deciding where the stamp is going to go. And in a normal level like this one that doesn't have world partition, anything over 4K is going to start throttling the performance. So here's what it looks like now if I turn it off. Of course, this time it's not wanting to show it. Give me a second here. Silly me, I wasn't aware of this, but the reason it wasn't showing is because I was in game mode. So if we go into this, not sure why something's showing up right there, but I'll deal with that in a second. But this is what we got. So then we can go ahead and decide how to place it. I'm going to go into render stamp because that's what I like. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click and hold. Then I can rotate it how I want. Hold down shift and change the size how I want. Yeah, that's the size I'm going to pick. It's quite interesting. That's what it is. Okay. 1 second. There we go. So as you can see right here, we now have our mountain placed. And I think I don't want it like that. So I'm going to go ahead and find the volcano and I'll change its rotation. Something more like that. All right. Now we're going to get in here to the stamps here. And I'm going to go with lake this time, as I think my mountains and my volcano are perfectly placed. I want some lakes. I'm going to come on over here. Gonna hit the plus sign a couple times. Then I'm going to choose some lakes. Lake 1, Lake 2, and we'll go with Lake 6. There we go. So I'll need to figure out why they weren't showing up immediately. But as you can see, we hold down the shift button. It randomizes between different stamps by going to render mode here. We'll turn off render mode. You can see me swooping through them. If I hold down the shift button, it's going to sort through all of them. But yeah, this is what is allowed. Works the exact same way. You place it, hit shift again, and we can place that one, shift again, and I'll stick it right here, rotate it around a bit where I want it, just like that. Make it not that big, about that big. There we go. My stamps are set. So last but not least, we are going to go ahead and set up, where are they? We'll go with the cliffs. Cliff 1, cliff 2, cliff 4, cliff 6, cliff 9, and then cliff 17. Want them to render. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Shift here, see what we got. So what I'm going to go with first. So I will come right here because that's about where it's going to be. Click and hold to rotate. As you can see, that's a little bit of a problem. But now everything is in the direction we want it. So shift, shift. Actually, before I do that, let's go ahead and hit complete. My brain will not be okay with that. Cliff. Bring it forward. We'll address this in a minute. And let's go ahead and get back to it. Go to the cliffs. They're back to being backwards, and that is, again, okay. We're going to find a different one. Just like this. And you'll see right now we have an issue with the landscape. So we're going to hit escape to stop what it's doing. And we are going to go ahead and go back to cliffs, alter stamps, and it's going to be an alpha blend. So right now we have another issue. That's fine. We come over here to lock location Z. Now it's gone. And that's because of the blend mode. That's why it's currently locked. And that's why these are way up here. Alpha is going to replace what is there, where the, what's we're looking for, while the additive will add on to what you've placed. Another option we have is max, which, as you can see, is a better option here. So that's what we will do. So I'm going to click and drag. And realize that that was still an issue because I'm using the exact same stamp. There we go. That's a different one, but I want that one. So from right here, click and drag. Just like that. Then we will come over here to click and drag. Just like that. It'll be about the same. So we'll click and drag. Sorry, trying to speed up a little bit for you guys. Click and drag. Click and drag. and drag. Okay. So we got a couple of adjustments that we have to make, and that is okay. And on this first stamp, the first adjustment I'm going to make is also make this a max. Unlock the Z. Bring it on down. Bring it the same with everybody else. Well, we're going to make it the same as this one right here. And the issue we're running into right now is because it's only doing the max. I went with alpha. We'd have that. Additive. Now you can see why we had it up. Min is only going to do the difference. And max is what we have now. So we will keep this as is. We're going to start off with this one though. We're going to get this one exactly where we want it. To about maybe right there. Actually, we want to make sure it is lower. Just like that. And we now have the Z. So I'm going to copy that. And then every other cliff will be at the same Z to start. Unfortunately, for some reason, there we go. That's working. For this, we just need to bring it up a tiny amount, and it keeps going back down a little bit. So first, I'm going to remove all of those decimals. Make that 6. Okay. We'll make that in 9 and a 7. All right, it's not wanting to work out how I want it to, and that's perfectly fine. It's part of the process, fortunately and unfortunately. There we go. Come right here. It's proving itself to be quite more delicate. I decided to go a little more intricate with the stamp types here. I'm going to come back over here. 4, so if I make that a 5. It's interesting. All right. I'm going to stick with that. Good enough. Now then we will come over to this one. It's roughly the same, so I think we're fairly good there. As you can see, this one, though, starts to give some strange artificialness. There's a couple ways we can go about this, and the easiest way is to just increase this. There we go. Obviously, people aren't going to see this from the playing area because nobody's going to be up there, but still want this as close to even as possible. Okay. Just like that. Yeah. Then this corner, nope, not that one. We will bring this out this way to take a look. Yep. But it's running to the same issue. Oh, that's what I changed. Oh well. Default fall off. Change you to a 10. It's a bit more acceptable. All right. Now then, for this one, also make you a default of 10. That's where the problem is coming in. That I was not thinking about. Oh, come in here. We're going to change these to 0, 0. Same with heights, because we don't want them randomized in this instance. All right. Keep everything consistent. There we go. We'll come over here to merge this together. Same with this one. And here we go. We now have a playable area where we can dictate where the player is able to go. Obviously, there's some places where they can get through, and that's a future me's problem. I'm not doing this to make a perfect, flawless game. I am doing this to make the whole experience easier to understand and do. Lift that up a little bit. This straight line is bothering me. Okay. Now then, to address these, hit G so it goes away. The straight lines that we have going on right here, quite easy to deal with. Noise. So we'll come in here, hit the plus sign here. And then we will go with that bass noise. And you may be wondering what the difference is between them. And we'll go over that for sure. Come in here. Noise 1. 3 and noise 8. There we go. So I think for right here, a mountain might be better. That is fine. Okay. Better solution here. Let's make this a little more. The fall off, we'll go with 15,000. There we go. It's a little on the tedious side when you're hand placing, but when you're going for a specific shape, it's important to get right. So we're going to go ahead and put that like this, and like this. Need another one like that. Just like that. And that appears to be fine. Okay. Now it's much more user friendly. We're going to do one more thing. Click on all the cliffs. We're going to lower them. There we go. I think that will work out quite nicely. Excuse me. Yeah. Then we will raise the default height to 15. Perfect. Much, much better. Now then, if we come here to the lakes, let's click G here to bring them back. Let's move it just like that. I'm going to go ahead and probably get one more lake. Oops. I don't want to hold down G here. Let's do this. There we go. Just to help break that. There. All right. And our placement is fairly done. And here is our gorgeous, beautiful landscape. Hold down G again. And we were able to make this significantly less time than it would have taken to hand shape. Now we got this beautiful partial circle here for this whole thing. And it only took us 40 minutes to do this. So let's go over a whole bunch of settings that can be found within each of the stamps. So we briefly went over it when I was talking about modifying the stamps. You know, when you click on one of these, you can alter the settings. It's not what we are going to be doing here, obviously, because we're good to go. But as you can see, you have auto detect. If you are placing, if you're going into the blueprints, you know, which you can find here, blueprint, Wonderscape Creations, height map generation, blueprints, stamps. We have spline noise. We'll go over that later. Go to any one of these, really. Canyon. You can visually see them before you select them if you want. And then once you've done that, you can place it into the world. And when you do that, in that way, this auto detect landscape is going to be turned on, and it's going to choose the very first one that it finds in the world. Obviously, if you have multiple landscapes and you're not seeing anything, you'll want to turn this off and choose your landscape. And then you have your options here. Which one? Okay, I'm selecting that one. So if I make this invert, we're not going to see anything. And that is simply because of what it is. We're on max only. So I'm going to go over here to a mountain. Actually, the volcano, because we hand placed that. I don't like messing with the PCG stuff until I'm ready to detach it. And because it's on additive, if I hit invert, it went backwards. And as you can see right here, it's gotten perfectly flat. And that's because when I placed the world designer, it pushed the landscape down almost as far as it could go. As you can see, so we have a little bit of down playing room. If you're wanting more down space, then obviously we would make a change, which I will show in a moment. I'm going to change that back. We've already shown what blend mode does, lock location Z. Location Z allows you to move it even though it's locked. Manual placement, which we did, so it's check marked. If we go to a mountain, manual placement is off because we used a spline. And then the brush size, which we can choose, which we did through scaling the way we did. Brush size will only work if manual placement is true. Then you have the height options, so it will be 15,000 feet plus up to 2,000 or not feet, sorry, wow, centimeters, plus up to an additional 2,000 centimeters or minus up to 1,000 centimeters. Fall off works the exact same way, so fall off between the edge to the center, 7,000 plus or minus 2,000 and 2,000. So, and obviously height maps are already here. However, this is all accessible for you guys. We come back over here to stamps. If your height map falls under one of these, you would just make a child of this and place it where you want. If you don't think it falls under this, that's fine. There's also the Wonderscape patch brush. That is the parent of all of the stamps. So you can place it that way. So now briefly we will go over in the World Designer how this works. So the stamp that we have is Alpha Blend. It's the very first one. I wanted to change everything about the landscape, which is why I have it at Alpha Blend. If I go to additive, it's going to push landscape back up to where it's supposed to start, and that's not what I want. Then you have the height. So how far does this one, with the circle, how much does this one go up and down? Then the fall off, I have it 0 because I don't want to see this right here on the landscape, you know, all around the border. Then you have what we've already similarly gone over is the landscape. You choose which one you want. The bound size, as you can see, 45,000. If we go back here to the designer, 45,000. So that's what sets that way. And then the patch location Z. That is what forced the landscape down. If I put you to 3, brings it up. And as you can see, because of how we have the stamps, they are in max mode. So they didn't go up. And that's why I have this as additive. So they do change with the landscape. 3 is the max I can go. If I go with move patch up, now it'll allow me to move the patch even further. 3 is still the max. If I put it down to 1, as you can see, it's going a little crazy here. It's now removed a whole bunch of stuff. So that is exactly how this works. There we go. Yeah. So now that we have our landscape set up exactly how we want, there is one thing that we do want that this isn't quite showing. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is a path, river, or cliff. Obviously, we already have plenty of cliffs, so I'm not going to do that. But we may want to have ourselves something else. A path, obviously. So we're going to come over here to the general section where it says spline. Now, the reason that it's in general is because this spline works with both the designer and they're both designers. Works with the world designer, which is what we're in, and the biomes designer, which we'll be in video 3. Well, the long video 3, not whatever I divide. But anyways, first thing we want to do, landscape formation data asset. This is what we want. I will go over it, but I won't be changing it. I won't be making my own in this instance because we don't need to. But here's where you can find it. Let me close all of these. Wonderscape Creations, PCG, Data, Data Assets, Landscape, Spline Formation. So I have 2 spline noise stamps. There are 5 of them, I believe. Yes. And I've created for this instance. And you'll see what they do in a moment. You can determine the offset and all that stuff, and I'll play with these after I've placed the spline. So this one, I think, is going to be a path. So I'll leave it as path. You can barely see the line trace, which is fine. And I don't want to give it an additional tag. Spline, if I have it as spline, PCG is going to tag it as path. Later down the road, I'm going to add additional stuff to allow you guys to have even more control based off of this tag. But it is there. That way, if you know how to and wants to utilize the tag system in your own way, but you want your own tag, it's already there for you. Anyways, I digress. So I'm going to decide that there's going to be a town on this side. So I'm going to click right here. Just like this. And we want it to go this way because of the lake. There we go. We have ourselves a path. Now, it's going a bit on the downward, and that's not always how it works. So we can lift it. That's exactly what we're going to do in this instance. But we're going to do it this way. Because as you can see right now, in the offset for the Z, we have it at -500 to -250. So we are going to change this. Let me make this smaller so that, well, first let's hit escape so we don't make anything on accident. And I'm going to change the minimum to 250 and the max to 500. And as you can see, that looks a little bit on the ridiculous side, and that's fine. We can now go with 150 and 300. And now I think for design purposes, because it's walked a lot, I'm going to change it back for this instance. Because I don't want to be spending another 20 minutes adjusting things like that. So here's the path that is traveled to get to the lake. Now, if I hit G so we can see everything, there's a whole bunch of small stamps along the spline. That is how we have to work with the landscape actor as it is. Yes, I have a little bit of C++ knowledge, and yes, I wouldn't mind going in and extending this. However, Epic Games is making a whole new landscape actor, so that would be wasted time. A lot of wasted time. So I am currently setting everything up to work with the actor as is. Now, my OCD is having issues right now with this. So 1 second while I fix it. Go out here just like that. Place you like this. And then one more time. Just like that. This time like this. There. That's more acceptable. So, now here in the world, this is what everyone gets to see. Very solid map. So the next thing we need to do is export because we are ready for it. So we need to go into landscape mode and then to manage and import, we're going to select export. We will choose the height map file so that we can name it. We're going to do all so that it gives all of the layers together. We only have one because I didn't make any extra. So, and that's fine. As you can see, edit layers, there's actually two. The patch, landscape patch, which are all the stamps, and then the layer itself, which is why we want all. So then we're going to come in here and we're going to name it. So I already have a place where I place these, as you can see right here. And I'm going to name this YT example. Let's save. Now the next thing we need to do is hit export. Now it's exported. If I click on the three dots, here it is. There is our world. Looks beautiful, looks amazing. Yes, yes. Now, as you can see, we're nowhere near white, which means we didn't go to the extent that I thought we would. That's cool. So what that means is I'm going to come here to select and come to my world designer. And I'm going to change this to the 3. And we can see that that's a bad idea. Kind of. So I'll come to the cliffs because they are the only things that are like this. Let's hit G so we can see them. There it is. Next thing, as you can see, is the spline. So we're going to go ahead and fix that as well. So now we just find the spline here. We're going to bring it up a bit. And this is a step that's not necessary. It is an option that I choose. Interesting. All right, that shows me that the cliffs aren't like that. There it is. There we go. That'll work. Okay. So now we'll go back into landscape mode. Just so you'll remember, this is what it did look like. I'm going to select that. We're going to hit yes. We're going to hit export. Looks the same, only brighter. And that's just to make my life easier. It's my choice. Again, you do it exactly how you want. This is just what I am choosing to do. So in the next episode, we will go over setting up the materials and getting everything looking as we want. Thanks, and I'll see you in the next video.